The $10 upgrade every gamer should own is not a new pad, new keyboard or another mouse. It's aftermarket mouse skates. And if you pick the right ones, they can bring back that smooth new mouse feeling that everybody wants. Now I've tested a lot of them on cloth and glass pads, and the annoying part is that the wrong ones can feel worse than the worn stock fit you already have. So in this video I'll show you what actually matters, which types you should buy, and the mistake that makes good skates feel bad. But first let's look at what worn feet actually do. So take a look at the old feet up close. They're flat, shiny and kind of sharp on the edges where they're worn down. And those feet are the only things your mouse actually slides on. So once they go rough, the whole mouse goes rough with them. Just listen to the drag, especially on a glass pad, you can hear that scratch. But watch what happens when I throw fresh dots on the same mouse. Basically the scrape is just gone. And a small bonus, some stock feet are actually pretty thick and chunky. So if you swap to thinner dots, you can even drop a couple of grams off the mouse without doing anything else. But before you jump straight into buying a new pack, there's one problem you really need to take into consideration first. Now this isn't on every mouse, it's on certain ones that have these little sunken spots where the feet sit. And the first mouse that I ever swapped skates on was the G Pro Superlight 2. And on that one the stock feet sit pretty tall, so when you peel them off you're left with a real gap down there. And if you stick on those that are too thin, like some small PTFE ones, they don't fill that gap, so the bare plastic bottom of the mouse end up touching the pad. Now on cloth that's just like a random drag out of nowhere, and it might catch or scratch the material depending on what you're actually using. And on glass pad it's even worse, because now it's bare plastic scraping on glass, and that sounds like super awful and also leaves marks on the pad. So before you buy anything, flip the mouse over and check how deep the feet actually sit, because honestly height can matter more than material does. And this is exactly why some people buy really good dots and still swear they're trash. So if you just want like a recommendation, I just run the x-raypad titanium U9. They're like bigger and a bit taller, so I don't really get that problem like I do with other ones. Now once the height is sorted, the next thing people argue about is dots versus full size. And honestly dots aren't like automatically better, don't get me wrong, they're just like super easier to tune and they fit more mice. Now full size is the boring option, but boring is sometimes the correct one, especially if you want like more of a control feel and more points of contact with the pad. For example, like on a really soft pad where dots would sink in, or of course on that mouse with a big gap where like full size just feels it better. Now another big thing with dots is the placement, because if you put too few on them, the mouse rocks around mid-game. Just drop one wherever each stock foot was and keep it even front and back. Just don't put so many that it starts looking like a football formation. And don't slap them over the old feet either. Peel those off properly, clean off the leftover adhesive, then put the dots on a clean plastic. Because if your mouse sits too high, you can have like tracking issues because of the lift off distance. After that, slide it around and feel for any wobble before you actually play. And if it rocks, just add like a new dot. It takes like 2 minutes and it kills most of the problems people end up complaining about. And how long all of this even lasts comes down to one thing: your pad. Because cloth and glass treats this completely different. On cloth, skates are basically an upgrade. A $10 pack lasts me like months and I forget they're even there. Of course, as long as you're like a normal person and not someone pushing his full power into the desk every time something pops on his screen. But on glass, skates are maintenance, because glass is so hard it wears down the dots super fast. And I found myself swapping mine every 3 or 4 weeks. That's basically the whole deal with glass. And honestly, it's why I've tested so many aftermarket skates, because you can't really use like stock skates on glass at all unless they're like super specific made for that surface. And this is also why I never really got into the expensive stuff, the glass skates and the sapphire ones everyone hypes about. Now for me and for most people, that's just not where I start, because the feel is different, not automatically better, and you pay more to babysit more. So I'd rather just like run cheap dots and swap them when they go out. And if you really want that fast glass feel, I'd honestly just buy like a faster pad instead. And if you're curious what I actually run and why, my main mouse right now is the Viper V4 Pro with x-raypad J8 Air dots on it. And I'm not running those because they're the fastest thing out there. I run them because the first movement feels clean and I can still actually stop the mouse. Now when it comes to pads, I'm on a cloth pad most of the time these days. And when I want glass, I made the Wallhack SP005 with obsidian style dots, because like I mentioned, glass will just straight up ruin your skates super fast. So if there's one thing to take from my setup, is that cheap and consistent beats fancy and annoying. But my setup is my setup, yours might be totally different. So here is how you actually figure out your own. First thing is whether you actually need them. So flip your mouse over, and if the feet still look like super smooth and the mouse is fairly new, you're probably fine. But if they look worn or sharp on the edges, yeah, you can start swapping them. And after that, it's not really about the brand, it's height first, then your pad, then speed versus control. Now if you play a lot of tactical shooters like Valorant, CS, where you want to stop exactly on the target and flick as fast as possible, you need a bit of control. But if you play a lot of tracking games like Apex or Overwatch, faster actually feels nicer. Now on soft cloth, full size is the safer bet, or just use like taller or thicker dots so it doesn't sink in. Now on a glass pad, get get harder dots made specifically for it. Now if you want speed, something like X-raypad Jade or Jade Air or even like Tiger Eye style set, and if you want more of a control or longevity, an Obsidian style set or a core pad control style set. Just match the feel you're after, you don't need to marry the brand though. And if you want to see the full list of the mouse case that I recommend, I've put them on the screen and you can stop the video and just take a screenshot. And no, this isn't like an upgrade that gives you aim, it's the one that stops your mouse from feeling like it's working against you. Now let me know in the comments if you ever tried Aftermarket skates, the brand and what you recommend, and if you want to see more videos on gaming peripherals, check out the next video.